Hey, Speedwinghere here! So we recently got a large Nintendo Direct about Fortune's Wii, and they revealed a lot of things, and I'm probably going to make a few videos talking about the various things that intrigue me. But today, I wanted to talk about one of the most pressing questions I have on my mind after watching this, and that's, how is the Eshmel time skip going to work? The true protagonist of Fortune's Wii. Well, I mean, to say that this wasn't obvious it was going to happen would be an understatement. But they've actually shown us quite a lot, and not just in the Direct itself. On their silly Nintendo Today app, they actually showed even more. So, Eshmel is going to be a customizable avatar, which I think is really cool. If we have to have an avatar, at least let me kind of decide how they look. Another thing that I think was relatively obvious going to happen is a time skip. So we see that 5 years later, after the events of the arena, all the main lords go missing, and Sophis calls down Eshmail, reliable angel Eshmail, to set things straight. And then there's going to be time travel. Well, Eshmail goes back in time in order to sort of fix the roots and stop the events of the underworld from happening, I guess. And this then leads into you being able to have all 4 of the lords in a sort of golden route for the second half, which I think is very intriguing. I don't know how this is going to work. So they showed a feature where you could play the multiple routes simultaneously. And this is probably one of the most confusing things that they announced to me, because they say it's an option to do this. But if all the routes are then going to converge into this Eshmail part of the game, what happens if you haven't played the other 3? Say that you just did Theodora's route, the best route, best girl, best route. Say you just did that and then you get to the Eshmail section. Okay, now it's time to go get back the lords. What happens if you go get Leda? Will she be level 1? Will you have to go through all her story at level 1? What happens if you go back to Theodora's route, who you fully completed? Is she level 1 again? Do you have to play through it again? Does everything you did before not matter? It's really leaving a large question mark to me about how this is going to be implemented. Because if you're bringing units back from the first part of the game, how is this going to be balanced? What's the level scaling? Are you expected to play all 4 routes? Why call it an option? It doesn't sound very optional if that's the case. Now, they also said that you could just go to the boss with just Eshmel, which I think is hilarious, by the way. Perhaps there's going to be a few more recruitable units in the time skip, so you might be able to do it without bringing anyone back. But it seems likely that the intention is for you to do all 4 of the lords back again, bring them into the future with their recruitable units, and then that's your army. But when it comes to playing multiple routes, does this mean recruiting characters is specific? Because if you played Theodora's route and recruited, say, Nene to the army, train her up, you reclass her, you do a bunch of things with her, but then you go and do Kai's route and you also recruit Nene and maybe reclass her into a different class, take her down a different path of the unit building. When it then comes to the time skip where you bring all the characters back, which Nene do you get? Do you get Nene at all? Do you just get some kind of auto-leveled amalgamation of the 2? Do you get to select which one you get? I really wish they'd given us more information on this, because this gimmick, I think, is going to really make or break the feel of the game. If they want us to spend a lot of time with these units, building them, crafting them, grinding them up in the monastery, what's the end game payoff going to be if we can't then use those units? And if we can then use those units, how does that work? Is it going to be that recruited units are specific to each route? So say I go Theodora's route first and I recruit as many of the optional recruitable units as possible. Does that mean when I then do the other 3 routes, they're not available? And you're just going to have the base units? It's very confusing to me. I hope they balance this correctly, because this could be really fun if they do it right. If they mishandle this, it might be a nightmare to play. Because another confusing thing about this is that surely, if you're playing the other route simultaneously, they're going to have an ending, right? You're going to resolve their stories. But does that mean that no one's going to win the arena? Because you can't do Theodora's route, have Theodora win the arena, then do Kai's route simultaneously and also have him win. Surely only one person can win, which then begs the question of, are they alternative timelines? But if that's the case, then when Eshmel brings them all together, which timeline was that? Which timeline was the one where everything went wrong? Is it all of them? Are they going to do a kind of thing where all 4 of the main lords get to the quarterfinals of the arena, so they're all at the same stage, and then the underworld happens, so you never actually see a conclusion to their personal plot points? I hope that's not the case, because that would suck. I'm not even a huge story guy, but even I think that that would be a grim way of handling it. But it's the only solution that I can really get to in my mind immediately. Also, another concern of mine is what happens to the convoy. They've shown so many features around gathering resources on this world map. Going around the world map, increasing your renown, gathering all the different things that empower your units. Is Eshmel just gonna delete all of that? Or is he going to get all of the resources from all 4 of the routes put together? Is there even going to be a world map at that point? Maybe at that point the world map is null and void? But I guess whatever you've gathered on it is then going to transfer across. Which then makes me think that you will have to do all 4 of the routes, right? Or maybe it's going to be that Eshmel has a fresh start, and then you do each 4 of these new revamped routes with Eshmel in them, and then you gather your resources from that, and maybe they pass around between them? But then what's the point of the start of the game? Like, there's a massive world map, and we've seen things like 200 turns between each chapter for you to go around the monastery, discover things on the world map, gather everything. What's going to happen to all that? Because I feel like it's going to be incredibly demotivating if you gather it all, do it all, and then in the second half of the game, none of it matters, and you get a blank slate and start again. Maybe there's something really obvious that I'm missing here, but I'm very, very unsure about how they're going to play this out. One of the few ways that I could see this making more sense is if Eshmel actually enters the game from a very early point. Perhaps you only do a couple of tutorial chapters and then Eshmel is the main event. Because otherwise, I'm just really confused how this is going to work. They presented the marketing often as pick your route, pick your lord. But this time skip and this now Eshmel is the main lord really, really suggests to me that they're gonna want you to play all of them to some extent. Who knows? We'll have to find out, I guess. I mean, let me know down below if you've got any theories on this. Am I just getting very confused about a very obvious point that I'm missing here? Do let me know. I'm going to be making a lot of videos like this on various things throughout. I even might make a little soy face video where I just soy out about some of the character designs I liked, because there were quite a few. Anna on an elephant, by the way, is absolutely amazing. Anyway, until next time, I will catch you later.